All right, next up, we're going to talk about proportions. So in proportions, a proportion is an equation that just shows the equivalence of two ratios or rates. So this right here is a proportion. There's a couple of ways of solving this. The most common one is cross multiplying, which we'll talk about. And then we'll also look at some application problems and use proportions to find out how to do it. I just muted myself. I was trying to change my scene. Here we go. Let's look at this. Example 1.8. So we want to solve this proportion for x. It's 17 thirds equals 85 xths. So the common solution here is to cross multiply. That means we take 17 times x, which is 17x, and we equal that to the other product, 3 times 85. And then we solve for x. So x is being multiplied by 17. To undo that, to get x by itself, we divide both sides by 17. Like so. These are going to cancel, and we're going to get x equals 3 times 85 divided by 17, which is something. 3 times 85 divided by 17 is 15 exactly. Great. And that's how it's done. Let's move on. 1.9. So here we have a crepe recipe. Now I'm hungry. Calls for 2 eggs, 1 cup of flour, and 1 cup of milk. And the question is, let's say you wanted to use all 5 of your eggs that are remaining. How many cups of flour would you need? And there's a lot of different ways of solving this problem, and you've probably done a few of them yourself. But we'll set it up with the proportions. All right. The way that I would do it myself is I would say, well, 2 eggs to 5 eggs. We had to multiply it by 2.5. And then so we have to multiply the cups of flour by 2.5 as well. That's one way. You can do it your own way. But here's the mathematical way. Okay. 1.9 says that, okay, we have 2 eggs before, and that was for 1 cup of flour. So this ratio, the ratio of eggs to flour, has to be the same with the old recipe and with our bigger recipe. So our bigger recipe is going to be for 5 eggs. And the question is, how many cups of flour? So we have a proportion. Right? These proportions are the same. We have a proportion equation. So we're going to forget about the units for a while, and then just multiply this out. This is going to be the same solution as 2 over 1 equals 5 over x. It's just a little easy to solve the algebra when we don't write the units everywhere. So we cross multiply again. We're going to get 2 times x equals 1 times 5. Divide both sides by 2. And we're going to get x equals 5 halves, or 2.5 cups of flour as our final answer. Okay, there'll also be 2.5 cups of milk in this new recipe. Now the last example, unbeknownst to me, I already wrote the quiz and people have already, well, nobody has started on it, but I've already written the quiz and I don't feel like changing it. But the next problem is a literal quiz problem, I'm pretty sure. So if you're watching the video, you get a freebie. You get a freebie on your quiz. So, a highway had a landslide where 3,000 cubic yards of material fell on the road, and it required 200 dump truck loads to clear. It's a lot of stuff. There's another highway with 40,000 cubic yards on the road, and the question is, how many dump truck loads do you need on this side? So, something to watch out for. But let's set it up just like we did before. Okay, before we said, okay, 3,000 cubic yards required 200 loads. So the question is, if we have 40,000 cubic yards, how many loads is that? Because it should have the same ratio on each of them. We're assuming our dump truck loading is consistent with location, size, all this stuff, ease of loading. Anyway, we can assume all that. So we just solve this resulting equation, and we should get 3000x equals 200 times 40,000. And divide both sides by 3000. And you should get that x is approximately equal to 200 times 40,000 divided by 3,000. 20. Wait, did I type this in right? It seems really big. 2666.6 repeating. Does this answer make sense? Yeah, because this is more than 10 times as big, so this needs to be more than 10 times as big too. It's a lot of dump truck loads. So this isn't our final answer though. Right? It's asking how many dump truck loads are we going to need? We're not going to say 0.6666666 dump truck loads. We're going to round up. 2666 is not going to be enough. 2667 will be enough. All right, we're not going to have partial loads here, so watch out for that. All right, and that's this video.